Hi guys, welcome to Rufio, it's Joe here. First, let me apologise for a couple of things. Firstly, this absolutely hideous mat. Big shout out to Mark for giving me the hookup. I turned up at Locals today, which is where I record my videos, by the way, after Locals on a Saturday, for the most part at least. And I didn't turn up with my usual mat. As you may have noticed, I normally have my Rufio mat in my videos. Apparently not today, so I managed to borrow one off one of the other tuggers, James. I'll give you the shout out here. He hooked me up with one of his sneak peek mats so I can at least play for the day. I didn't have to play on this thing. Unfortunately, he's gone home, so he's taking his mat with him. And I didn't want to do it on, like, no mat. I mean, we have these, like, big, long Magic the Gathering mats, but it kind of looks weird in the video. So I wanted a Yu-Gi-Oh! Centric mat here. And decided to use this one here. So it was what we had available, so we'll make do. So thank you very much, Mark, for bailing me out, even if it is the ugliest goddamn mat I've ever seen. So let me preface this video by, the other thing I wanted to mention, before I get away with myself, is apologies if there's loads of background noise. There is a bunch of Magic players outside having an absolute ball of a time at the expense of my videos, which happens sometimes. That's the downside to not recording at home. On the plus side, we get to bring these videos to you in the best quality possible, so that's what makes it happen. So, as I was saying, let me preface this video by saying that the idea behind this deck is one that's worked mostly in theory. All the testing I've done has been absolutely fantastic. I'm not saying I've cracked the deck, so please let's not take that as what this is. What I did want to share with you, though, was this deck profile that I've been working on for a little while. I say a little while, a couple of weeks, really. That I feel has worked really, really well on online in testing. I am going to start taking it to some locals and doing some test games and that kind of thing. But I'm really, really pleased with it so far. It seems to just keep going. And the whole premise was that with the release of Cherubini, which we have here, absolutely beautiful. It's a shame it's in a terrible sleeve, but there you go. You can have a quick look there. Really, really happy this has come out. I've got no OCG one. But anyway, let's get back on track. So I really wanted to do another Burning Abyss deck. As you may know, if you've been subscribed to the channel for a while, Burning Abyss has been one of my absolute favourite decks. Unfortunately, it was hit indirectly across one list. And then on top of that, the format shift meant that the deck was really, really struggling to be able to let's say perform at its best level. The reason that people say it never died is because it's always thrived. The deck is so open, the format is so open that the deck is unable to perform mostly at the level that it was supposed to before. However, we can still have a ton of fun with it. It's definitely competitive in the sense that it could definitely still be played at like a decent level. You definitely play at locals. You could definitely take it to like a regional and probably do quite well. Depending on if you're a skilled enough player, I would say, which I'm not, so let's not go there. But anyway, what I wanted to do was take advantage of all of the new support that's come out in DANE, and not just for Burning Abyss, but for our Orcust engine as well, and Phantom Knights, and that kind of thing. I just thought, you know what, let's put it together and see what we can make work. Now, I know there's a lot of people, particularly in the Burning Abyss group on Facebook, shout out to them. Most of you are pretty helpful. There's one or two that, yeah, let's not go there. Anyway, so those guys give me some tips. I've had some tips off other Orcust players, people who are playing the deck at the moment on what they think works well. Most people have had a look at this and had a quick flick through and see that the deck seems to work really well. We've done some test hands together. Everything looks really, really cool. So hopefully that translates to you guys when you go testing, if you go testing. But that's enough waffle anyway. It's like 3 minutes of me talking shit to preface the deck. So again, let's get stuck in. It's not the perfect deck, but it is one that I've been working on. And hopefully you have some success out of it like I have. It is tons of fun. So yeah, let's just get stuck in. So we start off with triple Fiendish Rhino Warrior. I mean, I think this is pretty standard for any deck that's going to run Burning Abyss. It's one of those things where, you know, this gets your plays really, like, starting. If you see this in your opening hand, you're normally, like, super, super happy. You're going to go into your Dantes, you're going to detach, you're going to do some crazy shit. If you play Burning Abyss, you'll understand how this all works. I won't go into too much detail. If you haven't already, I don't have any combo videos, I'm afraid. I'm not going to do them in this one. Definitely look out there. There are plenty of tips, and if you aren't yet, and you're considering getting into Burning Abyss, definitely join the Burning Abyss Facebook group. There are people there who will be more than happy to help you. So yeah, we go triple Fiendish Rhino Warrior. I think you still have to play it at 3. It's absolutely crazy card. So good. We move on to our next. So we have One Tour Guide. Again, it's a 1 for a reason. This card is absolutely insane. You just special summon one level 3 fiend type monster from your hand or deck. It has its effects negated so it doesn't blow itself up, which is really, really cool. And it also can't be used as synchro material, but that's, yeah, largely irrelevant. We don't care. Card is broken. The biggest Ash target in this entire deck, I swear to you. Every time you put this out, watch your opponent go into their hand to dig out their Ash Blossom. They will always hit this card. Okay, so we move on to our actual Burning Abyss card. So the lineup is still subject to change. What I really wanted to do was essentially say, okay, when I open my game, I want to do my Burning Abyss plays, I want to do my BA things, and then everything else at that stage should just become an extender, because I'm going to move on to the other parts of the deck. I'm going to move on to the other parts of the plays. I'm going to set up a board, hopefully going first, and just set it up so my opponent's going to struggle to play their turn, and then I kill them the next one. Or if I'm forced to go second, I can just try and OTK. And so essentially these double up as, well, extenders really. And because they're all like once per turn effects, we've tried not to run multiples, so we'll go through them. So we've got one Seer and one Graph. These are actually at 1 on the limited and forbidden list. These are absolutely nuts. So this one's obviously going to summon from deck. Usually when you send this from your deck, it's going to go to grave and it's going to special summon this out. And then when this goes to grave, you can target one Burning Abyss monster in your graveyard, accept itself, and special summon it. So normally you'll use this in a loop with Dante. So the most common play that goes around is that this special summons Dante, and then Dante adds this back to hand, and then you just continue that loop so that you always have access to your Dante. It also means that you can go through into your other plays. But these are the two most important ones in my opinion. You don't really want to open any of these. You want to be sending these off, like you want to send this off Rhino and then go from there. But yeah, that's pretty much how they work. They also all have the ability, I should add, if you're not familiar with Burning Abyss, that they will blow themselves up if there's a non-Burning Abyss on field. And also that if you control no spells or traps, you can special summon them from hand. The downside is that you can only use one of the effects once per turn. So if you special summon this from hand, of its effect, you won't get its effect when it goes to grave. So just something to consider for those of you who aren't familiar with it. But we will move on. We will continue less on that subject there. We have one Limbic. So when this goes to grave, it's going to special summon one Burning Abyss from your hand. And then, yeah, it has its effects negated, which is kind of handy, especially if you've got other types of stuff in the field. You can essentially special summon this, let it blow itself up, and then, well, no, actually you can't do that, ignore me. You can send this to grave and special summon one from hand. It has its effects negated and it won't blow itself up, which is really, really handy. We have one Alec. So this, when it goes to grave, is going to negate one of your opponent's monster's effects. Well, I say it's one of your opponent's monster's effects. It can be any, which is kind of handy if you want to play around Widow Anchor. But for the most part, it's going to be one of your opponent's ones. We have one Calcab, so it's going to return a set spell or trap on the field to the hand. Again, it can come in really handy, especially with so many back row decks around there at the moment. And again, it's just another name. It means you can resolve one of your other effects instead of this one if you need to give this up for your Dante plays. We have one Farfa, and this is definitely one of the better ones in the deck. So it's going to banish one of your opponent's monsters until the end phase of the turn. Really, really handy. Good bit of spot removal. Yeah, just absolutely awesome. We have one Barbar. This is just for burn damage, and again, just another name. It's going to banish BAs from grave to burn for like 300 for each one. And then we have one Scarm, so that we can, at least if we're going to be forced into another turn, we can just keep resolving the effects and get something else, like get a Tour Guide into hand or something for the next turn, just to give us some continue of our plays. And that is it for the actual Burning Abyss cards themselves in the main deck. So it's a relatively small lineup. I think about 8 cards, and then all the other ones are pseudo BAs like Phoenix Rhino Warrior and that kind of thing. So we move on to the next part of our deck. So we've got one Phantom Knight of Silent Boots and one Phantom Knight of Ancient Cloak. Now I think that one of each is absolutely more than enough for this deck. You definitely don't need more, in my opinion. You could try with more. I know 1 or 2 people, when they run these Phantom Knight engines, like to run gloves as well, but I'm not really a big fan. But I'll run you through what they do. If you're not familiar, it will be shown on the screen anyway, but I'll read through the effects for you. So Silent Boots in particular. So if you control a Phantom Knight monster, you can special summon it from your hand. You can only special summon one Silent Boots once per turn this way. You can banish this card from your graveyard and add one PK spell or trap from your deck to your hand. You can only use this effect once per turn. And then Cloak. So if it's in attack position, you can target one dark monster on the field, change this card to defense position, and if you do, that monster gains 800 attacking defense until the end of your opponent's turn. You can banish this card from your graveyard to add one PK card from your deck to your hand, except itself. You can only use each effect once per turn. So these are going to help you get your traps out for the most part, or search this, or if you summon this, you can special summon this and go off into your plays that way as well. And then obviously they can be sent off your Bodish for your other plays. They're just going to help you see things like Fog Blade, which is really, really good interruption, especially if you're going first, just to stop your opponent making plays. A lot of the time, like, you can literally just end on Bodish, Beatrice, and 2 Fog Blades, and your opponent can't play through it. It's crazy. We then move on to the Orcust part of our deck. So we've got double Symbol Skeleton. So Symbol Skeleton's effect is that you can banish it from grave and target an Orcust monster in your graveyard, except itself. Except Symbol Skeleton. Special summon it, and you also can't special summon monsters for the rest of the turn, except dark monsters. You can only use the effect once per turn. It's not really a problem because pretty much everything we're running is dark. So yeah, it's also level 3, which has some nice synergy, and it is worth noting that this can also be done in your opponent's turn via a card that we'll see later. Again, I'm pretty sure you will be familiar with it already, but we will cover it just in case you aren't. We then have triple Harp Horror. So Harp Horror is a similar sort of thing. It's a level 4, so it has slightly less synergy, but it's still dark and really, really good. So you can banish it from your graveyard, special summon one Orcust monster from your deck, except Orcust Harp Horror. Also, you cannot switch summon monsters for the rest of the turn except dark monsters, and you can only use the effect once per turn. So a lot of the time these are going to actually get cycled around through various effects throughout the deck, which again we'll cover as we go along. But these are just really, really crazy extenders. So good. There's a reason that this deck is doing really well at a high level at the moment. We then have one Orcust Nightmare. So I'll read you through the text on this one because it has like a multiple effects, and you can kind of get an idea of why this is good. So it cannot be destroyed by battle with a link monster. You can banish it from your graveyard and then target one face-up monster on the field. You cannot special summon monsters except dark monsters for the rest of the turn. You can then also send one dark machine monster from your deck to the graveyard except Orcust Nightmare. And if you do, the targeted monster gains attack equal to the level of the monster sent to the graveyard times 100 until the end of the turn. And you can only use this effect once per turn. So this is going to help you like loop around your stuff. It's going to beef up your monsters. And you can also search it out using Nightmare Mermaid. We then have one World Legacy World 1. So these two are like the bricks, right? The World 1 and the Nightmare. It's not ideal to just see them in your hands, but you have to deal with it. They are really important to the deck, and they do keep your plays going round. So this normal summoned, the set card cannot be destroyed by battle with a monster special summoned from the extra deck. You can only use each of the following effects once per turn. So if it's sent to the graveyard, you can summon one World Legacy monster from your hand. We don't do that. But you can banish it from your graveyard and then target one of your banished Orcust monsters and special summon it. Also, you cannot special summon monsters for the rest of the turn except dark monsters, which again is a clause that you'll see as a running theme. But again, we pretty much only run dark monsters, it's not an issue. And that is it for the Orcust monster lineup and relevant cards there. We then move on to more monsters. This is quite a big deck, guys. I think it's like 40. It's like 44 cards. You don't want to see those one-offs really. You want to be sending them or searching them and that kind of thing. We then have triple Neo Space Connector. And we have one Aqua Dolphin. So the theme of this deck, generally speaking, is that you're going to cycle through your plays. You'll learn how to do those as you practice with the deck, and what order to do them in. However, generally speaking, any 2 different named monsters on the field is your combos. That's the most important thing you need to know. And this is going to help you get there. So not only are you going to be able to essentially poach a hand trap, because that's generally what we're trying to do, but you're then also going to be able to make your other plays as well. Given that the Warriors, it's also searchable, which is kind of handy. This is also level 3, which kind of fringe benefit, but it doesn't really come up very much. But I'll run you through what the cards do anyway. Again, I will show them on the screen so you've got an idea of what they are, just so you can be clear on what they are 100%. So, Neo Space Connector's effect is, when it's normal summon, you can special summon one Neo Spatial Monster or one Elemental Hero Neos from your hand or deck in defense position. We're going to be searching this, nothing else. You can tribute this card and then target one Neospatial monster or Elemental Neos monster in your graveyard and special summon it in defense position. You can only use each effect once per turn. So you can get this out, and then when it's engraved, you can tribute one off to get it back and do the effect again. That's essentially how it works, and that is it. So like, this is one of your best cards. You can open this, get this. It's going to pop a card in the hand, which again, we'll discuss the effect in a minute, and then you can go through some other plays. So the effect of this is that once per turn, you can discard one card, look at your opponent's hand, and choose one monster. If you control a monster with attack greater than or equal to the attack of the chosen card, destroy the chosen card. And if you do, inflict 500 damage to your opponent. Otherwise, you take 500 damage. So this is really, really good for popping hand traps. That's generally how it works. You also get the opportunity to look at your opponent's hand, which is just incredible information. And then there's 2 different names, so you can go through your combo plays with your nightmares and go from there and go into Orcust things and do crazy stuff. We then move on to some of our other extenders. So we've got one Phantom Skyblaster. Again, you summon it, you've got 2 different monsters, and then you can go through your plays. That's pretty much it. So when it summons, it gets a token on the field. You can inflict 300 damage during your standby phase. Sorry, you can inflict 300 damage to your opponent for each Skyblaster token you control. But then Skyblaster monsters you control can't attack that turn, which doesn't really matter because you're not going to last that long. You just summon it and then you go through your plays. What is good though is it gets a token for every monster on the field. So when it's normal or flip summon, you can special summon any number of Skyblaster tokens up to the number of monsters you control. So that's a really important clause. So if you've got 1 or 2 monsters on the field already, you can get an additional 2 tokens, which is just absolutely crazy value. I'm really shocked that this card is still in the game at the moment, to be quite honest with you, but there you go. Whilst it's still here, we will take advantage of it, and it is dark, so there is that handiness. We then move on to some more of our extenders. So we've got 1 Edgem Sabers. This has been a sort of staple in the deck. I'm pretty sure it was Tom Rose that picked up on this one. Full credit to him for pioneering the Burning Abyss deck for so long. But yeah, this is just an easy way to get something in the grave. So you can send this to grave, you can mill it, it's really good, whatever you want to do. And then you can just easily special summon it. It is level 3. You just pop a card on the top of your deck and then you special summon it from the grave in defense position. You don't use the effect once per turn, but it is going to set up your Dante a lot of the time when you otherwise don't have access. But it also means that you can go into some of your other plays, which we'll see from the extra deck later on. We have 1 Armageddon Night. This is definitely one of the best starters in the game. Again, it's a 1 for a reason. It was absolutely insane at 3. It needed to get hit. I was kind of shocked it didn't get banned in a lot of ways, but it's absolutely nuts. It is also dark, so the effects are going to get off anyway. And yeah, you just send whatever you basically need. Just 1 dark monster from your deck to graveyard. That's all it is. This is also prime Ash bait. This is going to get hit every time with Ash if they have it in their hand. Finally, for our monster lineup, we have Mixed Rarity Triple Destrudo. So this is big shout out to Broads. You know who you are. One of the other tuggers. So he was talking about this with me today, and I decided to add it in last minute. So this has had a little bit less testing, but I trust his judgment on this. That this is a good addition to the deck. So I assure you that this will be good. So this is here to go into a number of different plays, but the main one is that it's going to give us access to Boral Savage. But it is also dark, so it's got those benefits. You can be easily sent off Armageddon Night. Yeah, it just enables a different variant of plays, so something to consider having in there for your own builds. That's it for the monster lineup, so we're going to move on to our spells. So we have 1 Orchestrated Babel, so you're normally going to get this off your Galatea, but essentially you can activate the effects of Orcust monsters in your graveyard or link monsters you control with Orcust in their original names as quick effects. During your main phase, if it's in your graveyard, except the turn it was sent to the grave, you can send 1 card from your hand to the graveyard to add this card to your hand. So there is a way to get it back. You only run the 1 copy of this. It's more than enough. You just have to hope they don't banish it in some sort of way. But it does switch all of your Orcust cards into quick effects, which is really, really relevant because you can then use things like your skeleton to banish and summon Dingirsu during their turn and yeah, do Dingirsu things. So that's it, Orchestrated Babel. And there's Orchestrated Return. There's a lot of debate as to whether you should run this or not. I really, really like it. You send 1 Orcust or 1 Legacy monster from your hand or face up on the field to the graveyard to draw 2 cards. You can only activate 1 of these per turn, so we only run 1 anyway, and it is also searchable off your Galatea. I am running triple Call by the Grave. So Call by the Grave is really, really strong. Helps protect your plays. We are running like well, we're not running any hand traps, in fact. So you need to be able to protect your plays as much as possible. And also the fact that it just poaches your opponent's cards is really, really important in the game. Absolutely staple in pretty much any deck that can afford to run it. Triple Call by the Grave, pretty self-explanatory. Just keeps making sure that your plays go through and stops your opponent making theirs. We have 1 Reinforcement of the Army. This is to add your Armageddon Night, any of your Phantom Knights, that kind of thing, to your hand, and then you can go off on your plays from there. Again, pretty self-explanatory. It's up 1 for a reason. Absolutely busted card. And then 1 Foolish Burial. So this was, again, something that I decided to add in, not last minute, but I've been testing with this and it's worked quite nicely. You could make the argument of running 1 less card, but I really feel that this is just good for dumping really important cards into the grave and going off from there. So I think most people would agree that this is a good choice. We then move on to our trap lineup. So this is kind of up for debate as to what ratios you should run. These are the ratios I've been running that work well for me. Potentially the first card that I'm going to show you could be cut to 2. But 3, it's been fine in testing. I can maybe cut it to 2, but we'll see. As I say, the deck testing is ongoing, so it will change over time. So we're running, again, mixed rarities. So sorry, guys. I really didn't realise until I started putting this together, because I've only been testing online that these are all mixed. So I've got triple Phantom Knight's Fog Blade. So this essentially is going to interrupt your opponent. A lot of the time you can end on just like 2 of these and 1 other interrupt, and you can stop your opponent playing the game. It's really, really good. So Phantom Knight Fog Blade is a continuous trap, as you can see. You can activate this card by targeting 1 effect monster on the field, so that can be either side, so that's quite handy at times. You negate the face-up monster's effect. That face-up monster cannot attack. Also, monsters cannot target that face-up monster for attack. When that monster leaves the field, destroy this card. You can banish this card from your graveyard and target 1 Phantom Knight monster in your graveyard and special summon it, but banish it when it leaves the field. You can only use this effect once per turn. So what's handy is that this kind of doubles up as like a Trickstar reincarnation, as well as I wouldn't say entirely an effect failure, but that's essentially what you use it as. It just stops a card dead, it ends the effect, which is really good. And then when it does eventually go to the grave, it doubles up as like a Trickstar reincarnation. And you're normally going to be setting and searching these directly from the deck. I like 3, again, a lot of people only run it at 2. 3's been great for me. It's open for debate. We've got 1 Phantom Knight sachet Brigantine, so essentially this is one of these monster trap things. So you set it, you can special summon it in defense position as a normal monster, a warrior type dark, level 4, 0 attack, 300 defense. This card is not treated as a trap card once you do. If you have no trap cards in your graveyard, you can activate this card the turn it was set. You can only activate 1 Phantom Knight sachet Brigantine per turn. So again, this is something that's going to be searchable throughout, you know, as you go through your plays and that kind of thing. Easy enough to get on the field. It gives you another target so you can keep resolving those effects. But the other thing is that this doubles up with Destrudo so that you can summon, make Destrudo a 3, is it? Or something, I don't know. Anyway, it ends up, what it does is that it ends up meaning that you can get into your Boral Savage plays. So that's what this is essentially for. And then we round off the last card in the main deck with Orcust Crescendo. So Orcust Crescendo is one of the new cards out of Dane. So when a spell or trap card or monster effect is activated while you control an Orcust Link monster, negate the activation. If you do, banish that card. Really, really cool. You can banish this card from your graveyard and add to your hand 1 of your Dark Machine monsters that is banished or in your deck. You cannot switch summon monsters for the turn you activate this effect, except Dark Machine monsters. You can only use 1 Orcust Crescendo effect once per turn and only once that turn. So this is obviously you're going to be activated during your opponent's turn for most of the time anyway. And then you get locked into Dark Machines, which we don't really care because that's the majority of our plays, right? Card is absolutely busted. You have to just try this out. When I first saw it, I thought it was okay, it's decent, but I'm not sure if it'll be that big an effect. It's absolutely crazy, guys. I was so wrong. You have to run it. We then move on to our extra deck. So I've done these kind of more in order of what archetype they're for, rather than what type they are. So I'm going to do them like Link, Synchros, Exceed, all in one order, but I've done them slightly differently. So we've got 1 Cherubini, Ebon Angel, and the Burning Abyss. So this is the new Burning Abyss card that's come out. I've been waiting absolutely ages for this to come out, and it's finally come out, and our BA is as weak as it's ever been, really, to be quite honest with you. So it's a bit of a shame that it took so long to come out, and the fact is that this is going to get used in other decks rather than actually just a Burning Abyss. So I thought I would stick with it and put it in a Burning Abyss deck. You only really need 1 of these. I do have 2. I could get a 3rd probably, but I probably won't ever use the 2 to be quite honest with you. But anyway, so I'll read you through its effect and you'll see why it's so good. So it needs 2 level 3 monsters. It's a Fairy Dark, which is a little bit weird, but there you go. Monsters this card points to cannot be destroyed by card effects. If this card will be destroyed by battle or opponent's card effect, you can send 1 other card you control to the graveyard instead. You can send 1 level 3 monster from your deck to the graveyard, then target 1 BA monster on the field. It gains attack and defense equal to the original attack and defense that monster sent to the graveyard until the end of this turn. You can only use this effect of Cherubini once per turn. So you can boost this up big time. You're going to gain the effect like if you send a BA or something like that, and then you're normally going to boost this up, but it doesn't really matter because a lot of the time you end up linking this off anyway. The other thing is that once this is summoned properly, you can also include it in your loop. So when you can special summon from grave with your Seer, you can actually bring this back and just continue your plays that way. And again, it's once per turn. You just keep getting to send 1 level 3 monsters to the grave, which is just absolutely nuts. I love this card. It's been great in testing. 1 is perfect though. In terms of our other Burning Abyss cards, I decided to just run 2 Dante and 1 Beatrice, Lady of the Eternal. I'm pretty sure you know what these do by now. If you've been in the game for any length of time, you will more than likely run across these. However, I will go through the effects for you just in case. Dante's effect is that once per turn you can detach 1 material from this card, choose a number between 1 and 3, and send that many cards from the top of your deck to the graveyard. That is cost, guys, so they can't ash this. And even if they Veiler it, you still get your mills. This then gains, this is really doesn't matter because it never gets used for this. It gains 500 attack for each one sent to the graveyard. If it attacks, it's changed to defense position at the end of the battle phase. If it's sent to the graveyard, you can target one BA monster in your graveyard, accept this card, and add it to your hand. So normally you're going to get your Seer, and then when your Seer goes to grave, it's going to get this back out, and then you see how that continues, right? And then Beatrice. So Beatrice is really good. And I'll discuss this a little bit further afterwards. So Beatrice is 2 level 6 monsters. You can also exceed summon it over a Burning Abyss monster. So you're going to summon it over Dante. You make Dante and then make this by discarding the Burning Abyss from your hand. Let's have a look. Right, sorry, text is tiny, so I want to make sure I do it all in order. If it's summoned this way, during the turn that it's summoned, this effect can't be activated that turn. Once per turn during either player's turn, it's a quick effect. You can detach 1 exceed material from this and then send 1 card from your deck to graveyard. Any card. It doesn't matter what it is. It could be spell, trap, or monster. Usually it's going to be a monster for an interrupt, such as like a Farther or something like that, but you can send anything. If it's in your possession, it's destroyed by your opponent's card effect or by battle, and sent to the graveyard, you can special summon 1 BA monster from your extra deck, ignoring summoning conditions. So normally what you would do with this is you would go into Purple Dante, the Pilgrim. I don't have it on my hand, so I can't show you it, but normally you would go into your Pilgrim, and then go from there. I didn't really have the space for it, and to be quite honest with you, most people fear the Pilgrim, so they will find a way to out this without triggering that effect. They'll normally snatch it and then link it off, or do like non-targeting removal, or they'll banish it or something. They will find a way to not trigger that effect. If they do, you can get the other Dante instead because you're running 2. It is what it is. But Purple Dante, there wasn't enough space. If you find space for it, definitely run it. But like I say, most of the time, I think probably 1 in every 50 times you're going to get that effect off. And normally it's against someone who doesn't know any better. We then move on to our Phantom Knight side of things. So we've got 1 Phantom Knights of Breaksword. So Breaksword is 2 level 3 monsters. Once per turn, you can detach 1 material from this card and target 1 card you control and 1 your opponent controls and destroy them. If this exceeds summon monster is destroyed, you can target 2 Phantom Knight monsters with the same level in your graveyard and special summon them and increase the levels by 1. Also, you cannot special summon monsters for the rest of the turn except dark monsters. Again, that clause doesn't really matter, but what it does mean is that you can get materials back if the circumstances are correct. You can make this pop things, get them to special summon them back, and then you can go continue your plays as normal. We then have 1 Phantom Knights of Rusty Bardiche. Really good card. A little bit of controversy because people thought this might get hit with the Azathoth plays and that kind of thing that was going on. Fortunately, it didn't get hit, so this deck can continue to be played without being absolutely crazy broken. But this card is really good. So it needs 2+ start monsters. It's a Link 3. During your main phase, you can send 1 Phantom Knight monster from your deck to the graveyard, then set 1 Phantom Knight spell or trap directly from your deck to spell and trap zone. If a Dark XE monster is special summoned to a zone that this card points to, while this monster is on the field, except during the damage step, you can target 1 card on the field and destroy it. You can only use each effect of Phantom Knight's Rusty Bardiche once per turn, and it can't be used as link material. So, you do get stuck with this, you can't link it off, which is the downside, but everything else about it is absolutely great. This is going to be set in your Fog Blades. If you can summon the XC during their turn, so you're going to be getting your Dingirsu a lot of the time to here, you can choose your Chain Links 1 and 2, and then you can basically remove 2 cards from the field, or you can set up an extra material on your Dingirsu and pop a card as well, which is pretty cool. It also means you can just keep looping around your plays, which is really good. I will normally move from my Burning Abyss into Phantom Knight plays. I've been spoken to today and advise that you try and do it the other way around. So you go through your Orcust Plays first and then go into this. Because if they Ghost Ogre this, you're in real trouble. So try and bait stuff first. But that will just take some practice, and, you know, that's just one person's word. We'll see. But anyway, Phantom Knights, that's it covered. So we then move on to our Orcust cards. So our Orcust cards, we've got 2 Galatea. So we'll go through what those do at the moment. So this is Link 2. 2 effect monsters, including an Orcust monster. So one of them has to be Orcust. This linked card cannot be destroyed by battle. You can target one of your banished machine monsters and shuffle it into the deck. And then you can set 1 Orcust spell or trap directly from your deck. And you can only use that effect once per turn. So you're going to be doing that to normally set your Babel. If you've already got your Babel, you're going to use it to set your orchestrate return or the trap card, the crescendo, depending on what you need at the time. Yeah, and that's basically it. The good thing is that this is like a once per turn effect, so you can just keep doing it, which is really, really cool. But a lot of the time you're going to do that, and then you're going to go into your next card, which is your Dingesu. The new card in the new set, absolutely broken. I should have picked these up a lot cheaper, much to the bane of my feelings, if that makes sense. I could have got these really cheap. I advised everyone I could have got them cheap. I was told I was a fucking idiot for saying that £18, which is what they were at the time, they're now 28, to put into context, was a rip-off and that the price would come down. It may come down eventually. It was now £28, which is how much I have to pay for it. But it is a really good card and it is worth every penny. I would just rather have had it at like £10 cheaper. Anyway, which is actually, if you look at this card, it's almost got like a 3 effect. It's quite cool. Anyway, let's all go there. Let's go through what the card actually does. So it needs 2 level 8 monsters. That's never actually how you summon it, because you can only special summon 1 Dingesu once per turn. You can also exceed summon it over an Orcust Link monster, so a lot of the time you're going to summon it over your Galatea, which will instantly give it, of course, material. If a card you control will be destroyed by battle or by a card effect, you can detach a material from this card instead. If this card is special summoned, you can activate one of these effects. You can send 1 card your opponent controls to the graveyard, non-targeting removal, broken. And then you can attach 1 of your banished machine monsters to this card as material. So a lot of the time you'll make this and then link it off, and then during your opponent's turn, you're going to use your Skeleton Engrave as a quick effect to summon this again and send another one of their cards. So it acts as like another interrupt as well. It's really, really cool. So going first or second, this card is really, really strong. It's going to help you to break boards and go from there. We then move on to our Nightmare package, and like there's a couple more cards after that. So we have 1 Nightmare Mermaid. This is going to enable all of your plays, and this is prime Ash bait. So if you can, bait their hand traps first before you go into this and commit to the plays. Never shotgun this unless you're absolutely certain that they don't have one, or you've got no other choice, because they will hit this, certainly. So Nightmare Mermaid's going to get your Orchestrate Nightmare from deck, and then you go into your Crazy Link plays. We then have 1 Nightmare Cerberus. So Nightmare Cerberus doesn't come up as often. Normally it is a sacrifice for Mermaid, but we can discuss why it might be handy in other ways. But essentially you're going to make this and then go into Mermaid, but it can pop a card on their side, especially on a monster on their side of the field. It's a decent utility card. You got 1 Nightmare Phoenix, pops a spell or trap, much the same, and then you can draw a card. They've also got co-linked effects, but you'll be able to see those on the screen. They're not super relevant for this most of the time. One thing I will say is that one of the tips I got today, again, something I hadn't really thought about, makes sense, better players than I for sure, is that if you make this and then go into your Mermaid, the downside is that if you're playing Salads, that they can summon this back and use it to their advantage as well. So it may well be worth using Cerberus instead. And then you've got Nightmare Unicorn. So Nightmare Unicorn's thing is that it can spin a card on the field. These are just really good utility cards, all the Nightmares. Just spin 1 card by discarding 1. And of course, discarding this deck really doesn't matter because Stuff Engrave is fantastic. We move on to our last 2 cards. So we've got one Borrowed Savage Dragon. As discussed earlier, it's a little bit easier to make in this with Destrudo. It's going to help you get into those plays, do some cool things. Yeah, pretty much it. And then you've got Borrowsaur Dragon. So Borrowsaur Dragon is a game winner on its own. You go second, you just OTK with it. You can go into this really, really easy. Most of the time in this deck, you're not really going to try and OTK, but you certainly can do it. And this gives you the ability to do it. This is a win button, quite frankly. If you can get hold of one of these, really, really good. There is a reprint coming in a few months. We don't know what rarity or how short the print may be on that. But certainly, if you get the opportunity to pick one up, definitely run it because it's absolutely broken. But I would guess since you're looking at an Orcust deck with the newest cards, you're probably willing to invest a little bit of money in your cards. Anyway, and that is it for the deck profile, guys. Again, it's just more theory-based than anything else. I have been testing it. It's been really, really good in testing. You may find that you use it and you don't agree, but you may also find that you're in agreement with me as well. So thank you very much for checking in, guys. I hope you've enjoyed the video. It's a bit of a longer one than normal, actually. I'm just looking at the camera count. It's crazy. Well over 30 minutes. I've been here way too long. I'm getting a little bit tired, maybe I'm getting slow, who knows. Again, thank you very much for checking in. Big shout out to Mark for the hookup on the absolutely disgusting map. Go check him out. He gives me a great space to record these videos. I shouldn't laugh. And then you can check me out on YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram, which isn't on this list. I didn't have it at the time, guys, sorry. It is also Rufio White, so you can find me on any of those. The links will be in the description. I will also have a copy of the deck list in the description, which if you haven't noticed already, that is something I do in all my videos. Really, really handy for you guys out there. It may not be up at the time of put up, because it takes me a little while to do them. But thank you very much for checking in, guys. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel. If you enjoyed the video, please let me know. Hit the thumbs up, leave a comment. Let me know any ideas you have for the deck or what you'd like to see. And I will see you in the next one.
I'm afraid that's all we have time for in this video. If by chance you haven't had enough of listening to me waffle at you through a video about a children's card game, you can follow me on Facebook and Twitter. The links are on the screen, or if you're feeling really lazy, you can click the links in the description. While you're at it, don't forget to hit that subscribe button so you don't miss out on future content too. It'll make me smile, I promise. And who can ask for more than that? Thanks for watching, see you in the next one.